the Patriots are going to have a high draft pick, and rumors are starting to come out. The Giants with Daniel Jones' situation and that he basically resigned from they had him. Do you guys know? I mean, Bert's going to know this, but did you guys know that Daniel Jones was on the scout team as a safety?
Yes, I did know that.
At the practice, that they had him out there just standing there.
This is how much we do not want you around.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the last person that happened with?
No.
Tim Tebow.
Robert Griffin. Do you guys remember that?
No.
Okay, Robert Griffin, the exact same thing happened where they sat him down because of injury guarantees in his contract. And there was a practice where it got a lot of attention that they were going and putting him out there as a scout team safety. Now, the reality of this is he's not a scout team safety. They were in a walkthrough period, and they just need a body, and that's generally what they do with backups is we just need somebody to stand there.
Literally just stand there and be.
I just represent what we're looking at.
It was positioned as he was just standing there, but I suppose that maybe it puts a different picture in your mind when it says scout team safety.
I don't know why they don't just cut him. That part doesn't make sense to me because it's all the same anyway. They got to pay out the money the rest of the year either way. If they cut him now, then the injury risk is gone because he's just not on the team anymore. And no one's going to claim his contract anyway. So,
and Dayball's staying there because there's a lot of commotion in that locker room. It doesn't seem to be handling. Players aren't handling.
I don't know about that. There are some people that are loyal to Daniel Jones. I've heard from some people that a lot of people there were really, really frustrated with the way Daniel Jones was playing, players and coaches. And I even had somebody point it out to me. They said, go look at the All-22 from the Carolina game. So I dug it up. And there was a play. I don't know if you guys watched that game.
Of course.
I would hope you did.
Who would have missed it?
I would hope you didn't.
Giants, Carolina.
It was.
We do sports radio.
It was a standalone game. It was that morning game. So, but anyway.
Yeah, you got to get up
I would not blame anybody for not watching that game.
That was the one that went into overtime with, and they could. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I was listening to WFAN, or the ESPN New York channel during that game. It was funny, and the guy that was on was going, "Oh Jesus, this isn't going to end." Because FAN has the broadcast, and the guy, he was and it's going to overtime. That is what the guy was saying. Go ahead.
So there's a flea flicker on the play where, and I could show you guys the play. It's legitimately two guys are wide the F open.
I now remember this. Yes.
So they're two guys it's neighbors and who was the other one? There was somebody who
doesn't matter, but he took a
might
sack.
have been Darius Slayton, whoever it was. But yeah, so the two guys
sack instead.
The two guys, probably both the guys could have scored the touchdown if he just pulls the trigger. And if you go and you look at the All-22, you can see the whole sideline throwing their arms up and being and it's just. And there were other plays like that too. There's another play in that game where Malik Neighbors, he runs a comeback. And the ball is so far, when the ball's coming off Daniel Jones's hand, it's so far off his head. Malik Neighbors sees the ball come off his hand and just walks off the field.
Oh wow! All right, so but
there's stuff like that, where it's obvious that they were there were people there that were done with them.
So Dayball, you think is staying? The GM and Dayball are staying?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, but that means that they're going to be very aggressive for a quarterback in the draft. There's going to be other teams that are very aggressive for a quarterback in the draft.
I mean, I think the Raiders are borderline. If it's still the same people, are going to be under a mandate to go get a quarterback. Okay, and so it's one of those years where
that's what I want to get to is that the Patriots are probably going to have a top 5 pick. I
think they're 6th heading into the week.
So they'll have a top 5 pick because they're not going to win a lot of games. They might win 1 or 2, so that should get them a top 5 pick. Let's say. There is going to be some activity up there, and that does mean to me if there's a mandate to get quarterbacks from at least 2 franchises, that at least 1 or 2 quarterbacks are going to go in the top 5 regardless.
Which is great for the Patriots.
But what are you hearing about the top end quarterbacks in this draft? Because that would be what the pick's worth.
I don't. So the Giants are interesting because I don't think they'll be this. I would tend to doubt that they're those guys worked with Josh Allen, the guys who run that team. So they're all from Buffalo. So I have a hard time believing that they would force it with a mediocre quarterback prospect. The Raiders, because of the owner, it wouldn't surprise me if it becomes, no, we're going getting a quarterback come hell or high water. Like the class is not good. Carson Beck, a lot was expected him coming into the year. He's flattened out. He played better against Tennessee last week, but he hasn't been great this year.
Ewers has been hurt.
Ewers has been hurt and also doesn't look like that sort of talent right now.
No.
Shedeur Sanders, I think, is probably the best of the group. But what I keep hearing with him is he's good, not great. Like his ceiling isn't that high. Like he's a really good athlete, not a great athlete. He's got a good arm, not a great arm. So like I think he's probably the first one to go.
Oof.
But like he definitely wouldn't have gone in front of the first three quarterbacks last year, and I'm not sure he would have gone in front of Penix or McCarthy or Nix either. He'd be in that mix. I'd say Shedeur goes somewhere in the first round, and maybe if somebody gets desperate, really high in the first round. And then after that, it's sort of a grab bag. Cam Ward from Miami is another one to consider.
Someone told us, maybe it was off air, that Cam Ward is a guy that some people are predicting, he's the quarterback of Miami, that some people are predicting gets a big boost during workouts, which is what J.J. McCarthy's deal was. That's what you were hearing about J.J. McCarthy last year, and it ended up being true.
I think what's interesting about Cam Ward was that,
because he hasn't played a lot of football.
He had, there's just... Well, no, Cam Ward has.
But not in Miami, right?
No, he played at Incarnate Word, then transferred to Washington State. So he's actually played a lot. It's just at different schools. He
hasn't popped until this year.
Right. Well, so the problem with him is last year when he was in the transfer portal, he was being aggressively shopped around. I actually kind of saw this firsthand because they were involved.
They asked you to pay him.
He was involved in the Ohio State collectives, and at one point he actually declared for the draft and didn't wind up going because his draft grade was and this isn't from the actual NFL service, but from teams when they got feedback from teams, his draft grade was going to be 6th round, 7th round undrafted, so. Based on that, and he had a really good year last year at Washington State too. Does he jump into being a high first round pick? I'm a little skeptical of that, but I think he's definitely one to watch and somebody who, is going to require, I think, a lot of examination on the part of the scouts. Okay,
so maybe the Patriots, you think, would then, if they have a top 5 pick, it's a situation where you stand pat.
I mean, they could. I think one of the problems they're going to have too is their biggest need, I think, by far, is tackle.
And there's one tackle.
The problem is the tackles have not had a great year. And it's another position where, and this isn't the best year to have a high pick, period. But the tackles haven't had a great year. So Will Campbell's the kid from LSU. Apparently he has short arms. He's struggled kind of a little bit with longer defensive ends this year. And there are a lot of questions about whether or not he's a tackle or a guard now. So he's a really good player, but might wind up being a guard in the NFL. Which was the same question, if you remember, with Isaiah Wynn.
You're right. Yeah. I've seen this movie a couple of times now. We're going to draft a left tackle. It isn't not really a left tackle, but
that was Bill being cute.
Yeah.
Kelvin Banks from Texas got his ass kicked by Georgia. So, I don't know that there's a guy that you look at and say, okay, this is a lock, stock, and barrel left tackle for the next 15 years. So then I think you go to the other positions, receiver. This Teteroa McMillan is really interesting from Arizona. Travis Hunter, to me, is the most interesting draft prospect this year and maybe in a few years. He's going to be really interesting to dive into.
He's a top 2 guy. If you're the Patriots, you're not going to
Well, I mean, we'll see, because I think part of the problem with him is his strength is his versatility, right? So he's played 130 snaps a game, whatever it is, which is insane, insanely impressive. Is he going to do that in the NFL?
No.
Okay, so if he doesn't do that in the NFL, how high a level receiver is he? How high a level corner is he? Is he as good a corner as, say, Will Johnson from Michigan? Is he as good a receiver as Teteroa McMillan from Arizona? That's the question you're going to be asking, right? And I don't know that it's a good business decision for him to be playing 130 snaps in the NFL either, when he gets there. And then there are a couple defensive prospects. The one to me that I've heard more about the last few weeks that's been compared a little bit to Micah Parsons is Jalen Walker. from Georgia. So again, like I don't think it's the best year to have a pick way up high there. But I mean, you have, again, like I think you got like probably 8, 10, 12 guys who have sort of separated themselves in that top
After
tier.
Cleveland's win last night, they moved behind the Patriots in the draft order. So the Patriots, as of this morning, have the 5th overall pick.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going to have a top 5 pick. I mean, there's no question about it.
I mean, I think Cleveland, like, I don't know. I don't think Cleveland's done winning. I think Cleveland's okay.
Well, they tried last night.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't quit. I'm saying the Patriots are going to quit, but Cleveland is far more talent than the Patriots.
Yeah. That was like I said, that was an awesome game to watch.
Everyone likes a snow game.
Well, no, it's not just like, I actually enjoy, so I wouldn't want every game to be that way. But I think it's kind of cool to watch the degree of difficulty of everything. Like
a handful of times a year.
Yeah, everything is so hard. And like just watching these elite, like top level athletes struggle to complete a pass.
Yeah.
And then when they do, it's like it's really cool to see like some of the drops in the game, the Joku drop in the end zone. I don't know if you guys saw that. Like, but there were some really like egregious drops. And then you remember, well, these guys are like that. The ball's probably like a brick right now.
Right.
And their hands have snow all over them, all that.
All right, let's break, John, and then we can get to your thing. I'm also interested about the future of Aaron Rodgers and if he's done playing in the NFL or where he could go.
Another great week in Florham Park.
What are you going to do? Some of the things about Woody Johnson, I don't blame him. Like going down and going, will you bench Aaron Rodgers? Having watched every Jets game, I've said the same thing.
Did you see what this Tony Pauline, who he piggybacked on one of my reports from a few weeks ago on Woody, and said that Woody's son Brick is more involved now. And Brick Johnson, I did a little internet sleuthing on Brick Johnson. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, you got to figure that if you're the son of an heir to an heir, that it's the bloodline gets a little thinner as you go down. That's good news. Maybe they'll sell the team. Who knows? All right. He does love the internet, apparently, Woody Johnson. He loves the internet. He loves sports talk radio. He loves it all. But I don't blame him for asking.
Might be listening right now.
I don't blame them for asking him. He doesn't like Manish Mehta. I know all these things. But he does. The thing is that I don't blame him for going to the coaches, because if I owned the team, I would have said the exact same thing. Why is Aaron Rodgers playing anymore? Can you guys bench him? And then if they said we can't, then I would have been like, all right. And then I'd keep my eye on things and I'd fire the guys. But that's me.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.